We are going to talk about the data analysis practice or I'm going through the data analysis practice overview to give you a little bit more information on the project in this module. So one of the things that we really need to, we need to rethink how we think about writing and communication on the internet. Everything on the internet is honestly behind the scenes zeros and ones. Like, I'm assuming we've all seen The Matrix. It's pretty standard. If not, there's a whole bunch of zeros and ones that go through the screen. That really is how the internet is built. But in the more visible pieces of it, there's a lot of data that's collected, and this is since the beginning of the internet. We've had click counters, and we've had page views, and we've had all sorts of metrics that count how much attention, how much visibility, how much connection and access is this thing that I've created getting, or is this thing that somebody else created getting. And that information creates a feedback loop. And that's what this module is about, is what is the feedback. And so we're using social media because it's really easy. We're using social media for the big project because the data is so easy to see, it's visible, it's public. But what is it telling us? If we're creating the content, or if we are participating in that space, or we're members of that community, what is this information telling me? And what am I supposed to do with it? And how am I supposed to understand it? So if I create, let's say personally, I create an Instagram and I post it and I get a couple likes immediately, what is that telling me? And how am I understanding that? If I, over the course of a week, get a whole bunch of likes, what is that time span in accruing the total number of likes telling me? And how, and this is a really important part, does that influence how I create the next posts? How is that telling me something about the community of followers that I have? And so for here, you have the two different options. You can either look at the English, because I run that one, or you can look at your own personal, and you want to start to set aside while also knowing what are the assumptions being made. Who are my followers? Who are the people that are viewing this? And how do their interactions and their engagements with it influence how I write? That's what this whole module is about, is you're looking for the patterns, and we get the patterns because the feedback that we get is in the number of comments, the kinds of comments, and the number of likes. How are these pieces informing me of something? Or if you go with the English one and you go third party, how is it telling you something about who the English and World Languages department sees as its followers and its follower community, and how are they structuring that so that they're continuing to build community? What does that look like, and how do we understand it? So we're really starting to understand, the goal of this whole project is to understand how likes and number of comments create a feedback loop that influences the post creation and later posts. That is your goal. You're looking for the patterns that give you more information on how to understand the data, and how to turn that understanding of the data into what patterns are particularly positive in these particular posts, or what patterns seem to engage the most people. It could be color patterns, it could be word patterns, it could be faces of people, it could be very specific, for a Millersville account, do Scully pictures on Instagram get more likes than pictures without Scully? Those are pretty easy basics. Do sports pictures get more likes than, athletes, whole words. Do athletic images get more likes than other images? Do images of the president get more likes than images of students, or vice versa? Do faculty images get more likes, because we're just going basic Millersville? These are the patterns that you're looking for in the few posts that you collect, because we want to practice now so that when you get to the big project in the next module and you have 3 times the amount of data, you're prepared for that. That is our goal. Practice now with the small amount of data to look for patterns. What is the data telling us? How is it providing a feedback loop and influencing all of the design of these future posts? And we have to remember, when we're dealing with the internet, anything that is more than 1 day old is historical. I'm going to say that again because this is really important. Anything that is more than 1 day old on the internet is historical. So how does a post from 5 days ago influence a post from 4 days ago? How do those two posts influence a post from 3 days ago? Go further than that because it's a lot easier, but we're really talking that short time period, but we are looking backward and looking at the development over time, because we're looking backward. We're not collecting and going forward. Even if we had 15 weeks for this class instead of the 4 that we have, we can't look forward. We always have to look back and say, how did these things leading up to kind of this time when I started the project, how did the prior ones influence? You're going to do the exact same thing with historical posts. And by historical, I mean just a couple weeks old. How did those influence the changes in the patterns? What are the patterns and how do those influence changes in patterns over time? If you have questions about this, send me a note on Tumblr, send me an email, or stop by office hours.